What's up, guys? Welcome back to our episode review of Loki. Today is episode 3, titled Lamentis. And this episode was not as crazy as I was expecting it to be from, after last episode ended, but I guess it was, crazy enough for what, I don't know. I don't know what to say now. Great. I won't lie, this was not my favorite episode. It was kind of, it just wasn't into the episode as much as the last two. So of course, this episode picks up where the last one left off. Of course, Loki goes into that portal after, the female Loki. And the episode, it mostly just follows them. We don't see, Mobius or anyone from the Time Variance Authority. Well, we do see Von Renslayer briefly, but that's it. It mostly follows them, of course. She goes to the Time Variance to try and take out the Timekeeper, because she's been... We see, opening the episode where we see how she interrogated the Time Agent she kidnapped, and how she tapped into her brain, and they were at a dinner place somewhere and asked her about information about, where the timekeepers were at, how to get to them, and who's guarding them, how many are guarding them, and she gives all this information willingly, and then, of course, it cuts back to where we left off, where she goes after them. Our Loki fall, certain stuff, and then, Ravon Renslayer and the other Time Agents are trying now, about to go kill, Loki and the other female Loki, but then, of course, Loki then uses the time device thing, I forget what the heck it was called now. The device lets them transport throughout time, and they get away now, and they land on this planet in outer space called Lamentis 1 in the year 2077, so a little bit further than last week now. So, and of course, it's a bad place they land into, because in this part in history is where this moon is about to come crash down to this planet and obliterate it. So, not good for them, and also the time device is now broken and drained of energy, so they try and get more energy in it so they can leave and stuff before they die. And yes, it's a lot of episodes basically just about Loki and the female Loki, where she reveals herself as she changed name to Sylvia. So a lot of it is basically them kind of just running around and trying to get the device fixed and such, and kind of just talking and bantering. But I gotta be honest, honestly, I was not that into the episode. A lot of it was good. The scenery of the episode was nice. The planet looked great. A lot of the other stuff, that city near the end looked great. It looked very, as my brother put it, looked very cyberpunk-esque, which it definitely did. And ironically, the year they were in was 2077, so ironic. A lot of that looked great, and the acting was also great, of course, from Tom Hiddleston always killing it. The acting from Sylvia's actress, I forget what her name was, but she was great too. And there were some funny parts also. And that one scene near the end where it's a one shot of a quad in the that one shot action sequence in the city was great also. But I just couldn't get into the episode, mostly because it came down to mostly just Loki and Sylvia. When the episode started off, their banter together when they were on that planet was great. I really enjoyed seeing how they annoyed each other a lot and were bouncing off very well. But I don't know, as the episode went on, it just wasn't really feeling it. I don't know. I don't really know why. I just wasn't really feeling a great, chemistry between the two characters. I felt a better chemistry between Loki and Mobius than these two. So, I don't know, it just wasn't really working for me that well. Maybe I'm alone on this. Maybe other people thought it was handled well. So, maybe I'm alone on this. You can tell me in the comments down below. But I don't know, I just wasn't that into it. But, not to say, the character of Sylvia was bad. She was an interesting character. We learn a bit more about her, but, just wasn't really... I mean, hopefully they improve on it and do more that makes me like the chemistry between the characters a bit more as episodes go on. I mean, we have 3 episodes left now, so I would hope so. But, anyways, we learn, of course, interesting stuff about Sylvia. How, of course, she changed her name to Sylvia. Of course, she doesn't, consider herself a Loki. She says how she's very different from, of course, our Loki variant. How, she's not very trickstery, doesn't like to hear herself talk. And, of course, she mocks Loki about that and stuff. And we learned other stuff, how, of course, we all assumed that, she, in her timeline, she's a variant of Loki who's a female, so, but, who knows, I mean, Loki's a gender-fluid character, so he could be either male or female, but, so we're not really sure exactly what makes, why she be a variant, what happened to her, although she said she's been working on this plan to kind of, destroy the Timekeepers and the TVA for years now, so we have no idea how long she's been a variant, how long they've been hunting her, so question that need to be answered. But we learn more about how her past doesn't line up with Loki's past, because they're talking about their mothers and stuff, and Loki talks about, of course, his mom Frigga, how she was great, a great queen, and taught him magic. She doesn't remember her mother. She remembers blips of her and stuff. I guess similar to Leia in Return of the Jedi, she just remembers some things like blips about her mother, even though she shouldn't know her mother because she was dead after she was born. So weird analogy I'm using, I guess, a weird connection. I mean, Loki's used to that. It's very much like Loki. He makes weird, not great analogies in this show twice so far. But yeah, so it's very. I'm not really sure what's going on, but it's possible. What I'm thinking is that if she's saying she's like been working this plan for years, so it's possible. What I'm thinking is that she's a remnant or someone left behind from the multiverse. She managed to survive. You know, when there was. She's part of some like multiverse, a different universe thing. She was one of the people who was around then. She managed to survive before Timekeepers, you know, condensed into one timeline. So maybe that's why she's been working on this for years. That's my theory. Because her past don't match up, so I feel like that's a possibility, and it could be a way to explain how, you know, the multiverse does come into play. And she also reveals some other stuff about the Timekeepers and TVA. Not the Timekeepers, but the TVA themselves. Of course, the opening episode was, you know, shocking and confusing a little bit because she talked about how, like, we saw this agent was in this memory of hers where she's at, like, you know, a normal restaurant at a diner, just, like, you know, having food with who she thought was her best friend, but it was just actually just Sylvia pretending to be her friend to get information out of her head. And it was confusing because, like, wait, why did she have all this, like, information, a memory about being on Earth some time ago? And Sylvia reveals later on how, you know, the time agents, they're all just people plucked, they're all variants, they're all plucked from different points in time to use as, like, unknowingly slaves to the TVA. Like, they all believe, like Mobius said last time how, you know, he believes in the TVA, that's why he believes it's real, so he believes in it. But, you know, they've been lying to them apparently for, like she said, it's been like hundreds of years they've been doing this, so like, for hundreds of years these, like, agents have had no idea that they're actually variants of, like, prior timelines, so it's starting to seem like, it's obviously clear now that the Timekeepers are not great people, because, like, I know some people theorize how Timekeepers might not be real, possibly, like maybe it might just be Ravonna Renslayer, because, you know, Mobius has never met them, but that one agent did, like, she knew where they were. But no, it's starting to seem like just they're jerks, they suck, like, so that's what it's starting to seem like. So I guess, like, they'll probably be the main villains of the whole show. I mean, right now, in the eyes of the TVA, and, like, Loki and the Sylvia are the kind of bad guys, but no, it seems like the Timekeepers will be, you know, the main villains of the actual show. So I wonder if we'll see them by the end. I assume we will. But that's all interesting about the Timekeepers, showing that they've just been abducting these people. So, like, it's funny, I've heard some people talk about how maybe why Mobius is so obsessed with a jet ski, because maybe back in his time, he was from the 90s, and he, like, loved jet skis back then, maybe that's why, or like a remnants of it in his brain about jet skis. Like, they're all brainwashed, so, like, maybe there's some remnants in his head about that past part of his life, which will be fun, because we all want to see Mobius get to ride a jet ski. That'd be top tier moment. And of course, Mobius also is not in the episode at all, like I said, which you know, like, I'm not saying he should be in every episode, like other characters like Loki can carry it, but his presence of not being here was very much felt. Because, like I said, I didn't really find the banter and chemistry between Loki and Sylvia as great or interesting as Loki and Mobius, and so, I don't know. But there's that, so I'm curious to see what else. I'm hoping that by the end of the show, Timekeepers are killed, they're killed, and I'm hoping that somehow, because I've talked before how I'm not a fan of the, like, all time and, like, all choices are, like, there's no free will, like, everything's mapped out and planned. I'm not a big fan of that story beat. I'm hoping that, you know, when the Timekeepers are killed, some, like, timey-wimey stuff happens, and, like, history now gets changed, like, doing that alters, you know, their mapped out history now, so, like, everything else going forward in the MCU is, like, you know, of their own free will. Like, everyone made these choices themselves. Like, presuming Black Widow wouldn't be, because that's, like, set in the past, but, like, everything past, like, Endgame. Because I said before in another video, my theory is that the TVA, I mean, they said time works differently, but my theory is that the entirety of Loki takes place throughout the rest of Endgame. So maybe, like, everything past Endgame, so, like, WandaVision, Falcon Winter Soldier, Spider-Man Far From Home, all that stuff, like, takes place after that, of course, so maybe all that going forward was under their own free will and choices. So I'm hopeful, because I just don't like that story beat. I don't know. I'm assuming, like, once Timekeepers do get killed, because I bet they will be, like, all the time, everyone will have their own free choice now, so That'll be awesome. But another thing about the episode is that Loki was he flirting with himself, which is very, it's creepy a bit. Like, I hope to God he's not. But they were talking a lot about love and, like, what is love. And, like, I was like, dear God, you actually flirting with yourself? Like, if they kiss in the show, I'm gonna lose my mind. I'm like, bro, like, this is yourself. Like, this is very weird. So, I don't know. They also confirmed that Loki's bisexual, which is a thing in the comics also, so that's cool. But man, if they just, I don't know, if they actually make them kiss in the show, I'm gonna go. That'll be just, let's be clear. I mean, there's some theories that Sylvia might be the Enchantress, like, because of course, like we said, the histories of their past don't match up, so she could be the Enchantress. And there's some hints, like, I can see towards that, like how Loki says, "Are you trying to enchant me?" So maybe that's a sly reference to the Enchantress. So if it is the Enchantress, then it'll be fine if they kiss. But if it is supposed to be female Loki, that's a little weird, man. Like, you're making it out yourself. Like, that's, I mean, Loki loves himself enough to kiss himself, so I guess that's the normal for him. Like, I don't know. There's also a nice little reference he makes they do to the first Thor film, because like Loki on the Ark ship, or not the Ark, the train they were taking to get to the Ark. You know, he gets drunk and starts singing along, and Tom Hiddleston, he's a good singer. And at one point, like, he's drunk and he just smashes a glass on the ground, going, "Another!" Smashes it, which they reference to the first Thor film. When they first take Thor to a diner, he does the exact same thing. He's like, "Oh, it's drink, I like it. Another!" And smashes it. So I thought that was a nice little callback references. So that was cool. And he makes that weird analogy about love. It's like a dagger. And she says, that's not a good analogy. Like, I thought it was good. And yeah, and of course, he gets thrown out of the train. Their time thing's broken out, and she's pissed. And so they thought, maybe if we change history by going to, you know, get onto the Ark and make sure, because the Ark never escaped the planet, it got destroyed because the Ark's whole purpose was to escape the planet with all the civilians, or mostly everyone, but it never did. They're saying, we get on it, we could possibly steal it and make sure it does escape the planet. Unfortunately, it gets destroyed while they're still on it, so now they're stuck there. So they're gonna, probably next episode, like, probably, I mean, I don't know, because like they established that apocalypses don't alter the timeline. So, I mean, somehow, I mean, it's possibly they could track where Loki's device sent them. That device sent them last. So maybe that's how they'll find them. So they'll have to get at it somehow. So I'll be curious to see how that goes down. But yeah, you know, I don't know. Can't think of anything else. I can't think of anything else right now. Dang. But yeah, I mean, like I said, overall, I don't have much to say on this episode. Like, I thought it's a fine episode. I thought it was good. I don't think it was good as the last two episodes. Like, I feel like solely a lot of Mobius is missing in this episode. Like I said, I'm not saying it's necessary to have Mobius, but it did felt, and I just wasn't a fan of the chemistry between Sylvie and Loki. Hopefully they do improve that going forward. Also, this one's definitely, the last two episodes I gave like a 7 or 8 out of 10. It was kind of like in between that. This one's definitely a 7. It's definitely more straightforward on that. I'm like, it wasn't that big on this episode. So, we're halfway through the show now, so hopefully I get the Sylvia and Loki connection, like their chemistry is better. So I'm hopeful for that. And being that we're halfway through the show, I'm curious to see what else is going to happen then. And I have no idea what's going to go down. Like, so, presumably, once this show ends, like, or once this season ends, is that they'll kill the Timekeepers and, you know, Agent Mobius and everyone else will be set free. Ravonna Renslayer, who knows, because I know some people think that maybe she's secretly a Timekeeper, or maybe there was no Timekeepers and she's the one in charge entirely. But there definitely are some Timekeepers, possibly. I feel like, or it could be wrong. So maybe she might not, because she is, of course, related to Kang. Well, not related. She's the wife of Kang in the comics, so maybe she'll somehow, because she'll possibly come back. I assume she will for Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. So she'll probably come back. So I assume like she could possibly escape. All the other agents are set free, and Mobius will ride a jet ski at the end of the season. Like, he must ride a jet ski at the end of the season. There's no way he doesn't. But yeah. But I don't know, if they do kill the Timekeepers at the end, wonder what would, like, if they set everyone free, what would season 2 of Loki be? Because there are talks, and I'm pretty sure they are in development on season 2 of Loki, Like they said this was the one show that's gonna be like they can do more seasons on. But if I don't know what season 2 would be if the TVA was disbanded. So I don't know. It's interesting. But yeah, 7 out of 10. It's a fine episode. It's good. Not as good as the last two. Hopefully it's better going forward. So we're in the second half of the season of the show now going forward. So it should be interesting. But yeah, this is, I think this is my shortest review I've done of Loki so far. Actually, of all the Marvel shows, I think it's my shortest review I filmed. We'll see in editing, won't we, though? But definitely, I went through it much quicker because I didn't have as much to say about this one because I wasn't that impressed by it. Like I said, it was good, but like not great for me. But yeah, that's my thoughts on episode 3 of Loki. Stay tuned for next week when we talk about episode 4 of the show. And yeah, tell me what you thought of the episode down below in the comments. And I'll see you guys all there for episode 4 next week. So yeah, see you guys later. Goodbye. Hey, if you like that video, guess what? YouTube put out a video just for you on the left. Or, if you want to take my advice, watch the most recent video on the right. Thanks for watching.